Well, welcome to the next section of the RexDog Trading System. In this section, we will be covering pay attention and important candles. So let's jump in and let's talk about what's in this section. So first up, this video that you're watching here will be defining pay attention or important candles. In a second here, we'll be jumping over to charts and we'll be going through quite a few examples of defining a pay attention candle and why it's important. The following video will have specific rules for trading around these pay attention candles. So you have specific rules. There'll be a download where you can basically download and have these rules. They're very simple. There's only a couple of them. And once you learn them, you can apply them to just about any candle. That's what I really like about looking at candles this way, is when you get to the second video, you're going to really appreciate not only being able to look at a chart, immediately identifying a pay attention candle, and then having one or two rules that you can look at the chart and say, is it following that or not? And that will guide your trading. And the third video is examples on pulling it all together with the RexDog Trading System. So just having these rules alone on candles is powerful. But then when you combine it with the other aspects of the RexDog Trading System, it takes it to a whole new level. And it really gives you those high probability trades that give you conviction to trade. So with that being covered, let's jump in. And let's jump into charts. Okay, so here we are in the charts, and as we typically do, we will lay the foundation. So we are looking at the Australian dollar, the Japanese yen, on the 6-hour time frame. I chose this time frame because I recently had a conversation with one of the members. He's trading Forex, and he's trading at specific times. And we were talking about how can he break up the market to maybe scan it and maybe do some different things, or what time frame should he trade. And he came up with the idea of the 6-hour, and I think that's a great way to segment this market. And what's great about the RexDog system, and you know this already by seeing the foundation and everything else, is that it doesn't matter your time frame. We could choose 7 hours, we could choose 5, we could choose 3.5. The elements, the foundation of the RexDog system hold up. So when we went to switch the 6 over and we both were looking at the chart, we're like, look, the same rules apply. So this is a great time frame to trade. I also chose this time frame because on this chart, there was a very clear pay attention candle that we can start with. So let's lay the foundation. Now, there's no indicators on this chart, but I will put one on. I won't put the RexDog foundation on yet. That's it activated, but I probably will here towards the end of the video. The one I do want to put on is the weekly open, high, low, and close. It's an indicator I have. It's a public indicator. The way to look at this is that when the line is, these lines are the weekly open. And when the line is actually orange, it's above, price is above. When it is white, or when it's orange, it's below. When it's white, it's above. Don't really need to know that, but at least set some of the context. So let's get started. And let's get started on defining a important candle, or I like to say pay attention candle, because that defines more what you should be doing when you see that candle. So the first candle, and let's start with the basics. Have you heard that saying, I don't know, I can't define porn, but I know it when I see it? Something like that. This is kind of the same thing with these pay attention candles. We can define them. There's some rules around it, but it's more you know it when you see it. It's pretty obvious. And one of the great things about when you can define these pay attention candles is that then you can define rules. And that's what you get in the next video. You'll get very specific rules to trade around these or not trade around these. And they're simple, they're easy, and you can apply this to any candle. So once you can identify these, it makes, and then you add on the RexDog system on top of it. Like I said before, it makes trading with conviction a lot easier, because you're only looking at a couple key places on a chart, and you're only looking at a couple key things. It's simple. So the first pay attention candle I want to highlight is a really good example of a pay attention candle, which is this one right here, this red candle. Now, there's a few things that make this a pay attention candle. The first up is the size relative to the recent candles. So now most, if you're used to looking at candle charts, you probably would look at this and say, yeah, this is pretty obvious. Yes. And I've talked to a lot of traders that say, yeah, that's pretty obvious. But then I ask them, well, give me your specific rules for trading around these candles. and they usually don't have them. They usually have a general idea what they should do, a couple thoughts, but they don't have specific rules that they can look at it and within 5 to 10 seconds know what they need to do or know what they don't need to do. So the first thing is the size relative to the recent candles. There's another important element that makes this a pay attention candle. It closed below the weekly open. So it went through the weekly open and it closed below. Now, let's actually go back in time. Let's actually on the chart, I mean. Not back to, 10,000 BC. So we're back in the chart and let's play this forward. I want to go back one more. Sorry, I want to show that specific candle. Okay. We're in real time. We see this candle, the close of this candle. Remember, I've said this before, and I believe repetition is important. The close is the number one thing in a candle. It's where the decisions are made. It's where things happen. It's you're waiting for the close. I'm not saying everything else doesn't matter, like the low, the high, or the rejection, volume, but the close is drastically important. The close is where our decisions are made, and the close is what gives us high probability. So remember that. The close is what gives you high probability. When you base your decisions on the close and you base your rules around the close of a candle, you'll have a higher probability of your overall trade plans working out. So the first thing that makes this a pay attention candle, size. Next thing is it closed below the weekly open. Now let's imagine it didn't close below the weekly open. Let's imagine it rejected and closed above the weekly open. Is that a pay attention candle? In some ways it is, because what did the market tell us? In that 6-hour time frame, it tried to sell off. And actually, this green candle is an important candle. It's a pay attention candle. And you know what's something interesting about this? Look where this candle closed. Right at another pay attention candle. I didn't start with that candle because that one is harder for me to describe in a beginning context than this one. This one, I don't care what level of trader you are, if you know how to read a chart, you can say, yeah, that's bigger than every other candle that I see here, the size of it. And yes, I clearly see that it closed below the weekly open, and I can see that it almost took out the price action of these two candles. I'm going to also add another element to this. What else did it take out? And I'm going to explain this in further detail on the next candle. But you should be looking at this and say this candle here took out this whole range here. I'll explain this in a little bit better context in a candle that follows this. But that's the other thing you should be seeing. Now there's another important thing that should happen in your trading from this point forward. And this is where the rules come into play, and you'll get the rules in the next video. They'll be very clear, and you'll be implementing them as soon as you basically watch that video. Minutes after you watch that video, you'll be implementing these rules. But here's the general guideline. This candle right here should be taken into account, and the rules should be applied going to the right until they are invalidated. And you should have rules that will invalidate this candle. There should be specific rules that will invalidate this candle. And once again, I'm not going to get into the rules. We're just defining what these candles are. And you're going to get examples of these candles, so you'll see them both on the long and short side. We'll jump into another chart here as well. Now, the next thing with important candles that you should pay attention to that we won't cover in this video, but I just want you to be mindful of, is follow through. So where we're at right now, this is a pay attention candle. You should, if you see this on a chart like this, broke through a key level, pretty big candle, even closed at a key level. What does that tell you about this level? That level might be kind of important, possibly, probably, maybe. I want to carry that narrative forward in the story of the chart. But now we're looking for follow through. Follow through will tell us whether or not that was an important candle. Okay, the following candle told us that this is an important candle. It was, even if it was just a little bit less follow through, but the fact that the candle below it closed below, didn't close within this candle at all, gives further precedence that this is an important candle. So we carry that narrative forward. Now we're going to continue the chart until I get to another important candle. So I'm just going to play the chart. And I should stop it here. Is it micro or macro? I'm probably going to screw it up. At a smaller level, so here's the way to look at it. Here's an advanced way, and I don't want to confuse you, but I want to share an advanced way so that you're putting this in the back of your mind. There are important levels or important candles. There's big important candles, and then there's minor important candles. Now, as you advance as a trader and as you advance in the RexDog trading system, and I will have videos on specifically this topic, there's pay attention candles. Those ones, simple, easy. Those your high probability trades. And then there's minor pay attention candles. And those minor pay attention candles will give you additional opportunities, but they're not the ones that you should be concerned about at this time, because what I find is most traders will pick those up, but it's important to kind of maybe define those as well, because they do play a role in the story of the chart. Right now, you're just looking for those 80% pay attention candles, like these beyond a doubt are pay attention candles. So I'll show you when another one pops up. There we go. This candle here, this green candle, this was another pay attention candle on the long side. Now you might say, why wasn't these other ones? There's the pattern here is interesting, but we're not going to get into that. I just want you to focus on pay attention candles. This is a pay attention candle. Now you should be seeing a couple different things. First up, you already know, relative to the size of the recent candles, it's bigger. What else happened in this candle? It crossed over a previous week open, another level. It is above, price is above the weekly open. I can guarantee if we turned on the RexDog system, it probably would tell us we should be momentum long. As you can see here, there's the RDA, and it's above a lot of our key indicators in the RDA and the RexDog system. We're above the 200. This candle was the initial signal that, hey, maybe we should start thinking long. This is a pay attention candle. What's beautiful about this pay attention candle here, this green one, is we can apply simple rules. And in the following video, I'll use this specific candle here to outline the rules. And within 2 minutes of seeing that, you'll be implementing it in your charts. So let's turn off this. That's a pay attention candle. Now, what makes it not the best pay attention candle? There's a couple things relative to this candle that makes it, but it would have been better. It would have been a huge pay attention candle if it would have closed above our previous pay attention candle. But relative to what's happening in the chart and the story of the chart, and when you add the RexDog indicator foundation on there, when you add the foundation there and all the indicators we use, this is beyond a doubt a pay attention candle. So let's advance. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch charts, because I've shown you two examples of pay attention candles. Now I want to jump over to different charts, different markets, and we're going to just go through pay attention candle, and I'll basically be reinforcing everything we've covered so far. So here we are on Google on the same time frame. Let's actually change the time frame, because we're on the, so let's change it to the 1 hour. Okay. Immediately you should see a pay attention candle on Google. We are Alphabet, I'm sorry. It's Alphabet now. It's been that way for a while. We're looking at Alphabet on the 1 hour. You should immediately see a pay attention candle here on the open. the open of the week had a pay attention candle. And why was that a pay attention candle? Well, obviously the relative size. Passed through a previous week level. You should be looking at day levels too. I just didn't want to add that on here. And then follow through. Now look at something really interesting, and I will have a different video. I'm pretty sure I'll probably release this on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Break up and break down candles. These are other important. These are candle specific things that actually, but this is a breakup candle, meaning that it went up. And look at the very interesting thing that the market's doing. Most traders most chartists know this already, know these concepts already. What I find though, is that they know this and they inherently know this, but they don't really have hard, fast rules about how they should trade around a breakup or breakdown candle or an important candle. I mentioned that before. But look what the market's pretty much done since this important candle. The market is still telling you that it's an important candle, but it's getting to some critical areas of whether or not it's no longer an important candle. It's an important price level. Today, is the market still open? Oh no. Market is closed. It's 1600, 1538, or 58. So right around 4 o'clock. The market closed right basically with a rejection of this key level for the whole week. So this is Monday, and then here on Thursday, it closed here. Now it's a holiday weekend because Memorial Day is in the US here is on Monday. So what usually happens on holiday weekends is that the market likes to close on a high. I don't know why, it just does. So I don't know I can't remember what the probability is, but typically on these long weekends, the market loves to close on a high. There are times where it doesn't, but it happens more often than not. So I would anticipate tomorrow's action probably will range around, maybe even come down, but it'll try to close on a high. Maybe everybody gets bonuses and that's how they get bonuses. Let's look for another pay attention candles in this chart. Let's go to the 15-minute time frame because it literally does not matter what. Now the way to look at gaps when you're in a gap market, in a market that gaps a lot, this is one candle. So this gap down to this close is one candle. Now, of course, you understand that in a market that has gaps, the market likes to fill gaps. So you understand that. And there's specific rules in the RexDog trading system about how to trade gaps with high probability. This one here would have worked out very well for you. But the way to look at gaps, the easy way, is this is one candle. So this is a pay attention candle. It's not a candle, but it is one candle. If you look at this close to this close to this close, and this would be one candle. So this would be a pay attention candle area, the way you would look at it in the chart. So the way that you apply the pay attention candle rules applies to this gap. In fact, they're the same rules. So the gap rules and the pay attention candle rules are kind of the same, and the same probabilities kind of exist in them because they trade the same way, because the market treats it like a one candle. Another, let's say we're on the 15-minute time frame. Let's go to another chart. Let me pause the video. I'm going to open up another chart. Okay, we are on Quantum, or QTUM USD, Binance US. We are looking at 10-minute charts. Now, I did turn on the RexDog Foundation indicators here, and there is a pay attention candle here on the 10-minute. That should be a very obvious pay attention candle for just about any chartist, any person trading charts. Once again, I would ask, do you have specific rules? Well, what do we have here? This is a pay attention candle. And it's a little bit bigger. If we scroll in, it's a little bit bigger than all these other candles. But what did this candle do? Well, this candle closed above the weekly open. Closed above the weekly open. And I'm going to remind you once again, I say this often, you're not arguing with the chart. The chart is clearly telling you, based, if you just look at closes and you just trade simple rules, the chart's telling you what to do. You can argue with it, but you're going to be a losing trader. So this closed above the weekly open. It also closed right around this area here that you would have. We're on the 10-minute time frame. The RexDog system, it doesn't matter what time frame you're on. We could be on the 9-minute. I keep saying that. But it closed right here. So maybe you're paying attention. But the follow-through candle and the following action fits the rules for you to most likely be long. And when we put on the RexDog foundation here, I'm only going to put it on for a few seconds because those that are in the RexDog training immediately see multiple reasons why you should be long. Multiple reasons. And actually, you probably were getting ready to be long earlier than that. But there's no reason, unless you want to argue with the chart, that your thesis didn't start on this. If you're trading the 10-minute important candle, this important candle and the narrative that it tells going forward holds up all the way up until, well, your first signal of where potentially it started is obviously, it's obvious on most people that this breakdown area is where maybe I need to take my profit or the thesis is starting to change. Where the chart's at right now, the thesis has not changed. And the way I could describe this, based on this and the RexDog system, and if you're following the rules, this one candle here, that this is a pay attention important candle, has not broken down yet. The thesis that that is an important candle has not broken down yet. Because it has not broke. A couple times it got close, but it has not broke specific rules. Here's another pay attention candle. Right here. This pay attention candle is no longer valid. Here's another one. Let's look at some negative or down pay attention candles. Here's a pay attention candle. Hopefully you're just seeing how, so this candle here, this green candle here, do this. I'm just showing you examples so you can, it's not a pay attention candle. This one would be more of a pay attention candle than this candle would be. And it really comes from the story of the chart. Now, when you get to something like this where it's starting to break these previous highs or previous lows or however you want to look at it, you're looking at other pay attention candles. Like this is a pay attention breakdown candle. And as you can see on the chart, it tested up to that level and it failed at that level. That's why this isn't a pay attention candle. You're taking in the story of the chart. The story of the chart, as you look left, tells you that, you know how this would be a pay attention candle? Is if it closed up here. So if this green candle here that we see here would have closed up here above that key level, above that key, there's that candle back there that I showed you, that red one, was a pay attention candle. If this green candle would have closed above here, not spiked and then closed down below, closed above this level, this yellow line, that would have been a pay attention candle. Because of what it did, and I could just tell, I didn't have to go back in the chart, I could just tell based on the exhaustion of this move that this isn't a pay attention candle. This area right here, hopefully if you've watched other videos, especially the momentum versus fade, should be a very clear fade, high probability trade. Now, if you're just starting in the RexDog trading system, you know that I don't suggest that you fade because those are the easier trades are the momentum trades. You're going with momentum. The more difficult trades to master and to start are the fade trades. A little bit different entry rules. You have to be, your entry has to be much better. But this is a high probability fade. And as you can see at this high probability fade, if you would have took it within probably 2 hours or so, it's 14% or so. Now I'm mentioning this in this video specifically because this is an important candle. This candle here is an important candle. And let's see how long it took for that important candle to not be valid anymore. Because this important candle at this point in time is no longer valid once this happens. So it took 3 days, 6 hours, roughly, maybe a little bit longer. 3 days, 7 hours. A little bit longer than that because I'm not doing the full thing. It took about 3 days or so, 3 days, 12 hours. That's why when I say you're not a trader, you're a trader, but you're really a professional wader and a professional manager. You're managing the trade. Because let me ask you a question. If you're looking for high probability trades, and let's say you only want to be a fader, because I used to like just to fade trades. And one of the recent videos that I did basically just fades. Well, how long would you have to wait for the highest probability fade on this chart? You'd have to wait 3 days for the highest probability fade. Most people can't do that. But, you know, there's simple ways to alleviate that. You put alerts, you define it. Once you know how to define the trades, you just wait for them to come up. When they pop up, you take the trade. Take the trade basically by dropping, like we're on the 10-minute time frame, you drop down to the 5-minute. Simple rules to follow using the RexDog system. Going to tell you whether or not the algorithm has switched. Simple rules. The algorithm switched on a lower time frame, you take the trade. Put your stop loss, put your targets. Targets are easy to place because they're at high probability turn points. Bam, you're moving on. Let's look at, so we've looked at equity, we looked at Forex, we haven't looked at futures. So let's look at the ES. E-mini. And let's go to a different time frame. What haven't we gone to? We've done the 1 hour, we haven't done the 4 hour. So let's do the 4 hour. Where's your first important candle that you see? Well, actually that's not fair. Let's just identify important candles. Important candle. Yes. Opened on the weekly open, but closed below it. We carry that narrative forward and we trade the rules. Important candle. Why? Ripped through the weekly open. I'm going to stop using ripped so much because I've been overusing it. So, but it did rip through the weekly open, closed up here. Closed at a couple key levels. This candle wasn't invalidated until this candle, obviously. And it should be really obvious that this candle is an important candle. So that candle's an important candle. There's follow through. How do I prove that this candle was an important candle? Well, the market's telling us anyways, but it's also because I've told you how to identify important candles, relative size. But look at what the market told you thereafter. So, like, you cannot believe me. You can say, you know, I'm kind of following you. But let's look what the market did when I told you that this was an important candle. Now, of course, I saw this on the chart. So you could say, well, you saw it on the chart. But still, apply these simple rules. Big candle, took out a lot of stuff. And what did the market do thereafter? Well, follow through, big follow through. But when it came back to this area, this important candle, what did it do? Here, rejection. Here, rejection. Here, rejection. In fact, this weekly open was below that, and it had a tough time getting through that until this important candle. That's a pretty important candle. Now it was invalidated immediately by this candle, which then became an important candle because it invalidated an important candle. So from there, when this candle closed right at these two opens, this became a minor important candle. I don't want to introduce that concept yet, but it's a minor important candle. What did the market do there after that? If we move this yellow line up, that close, it played around it today, or not today, but these 4-hour time frames. It played around with that level. And you could say that this important candle validated this level here as being important on the 4-hour time frame, but it played around on this level. But it really had never, it doesn't have conviction to go below it. And I will tell you right now, because this is an important candle, it never got invalidated. So this candle is still a minor important candle. Now, you might ask, is this an important candle right here? That candle. And I would say no, because it's in the middle of a range. It didn't invalidate any other candle. But once again, remember what I said in the beginning, is that when you learn the candle rules in the next video, and I'll go into more detail, you can apply these rules to every candle. So if you wanted to, you can apply these simple 3 rules that I'm going to give you to any candle and carry that narrative forward. But we're not trying to confuse us. We're not trying to make us think. The less you have to think in trading, when you're actively trading, the more successful you will be. So we want simple rules. We only want to identify important candles, pay attention candles, and then we want to apply simple rules to that and trade around it using the RexDog system, using the other indicators. Because you could actually be pretty successful just trading important candles. You're much more successful when you add the RexDog system because it gives you those further probability trades that you trade with conviction, because then you're using the reverse engineering that we've done with the market. You're using the reverse engineering that we've done with the market, and you're applying it to these important candle rules. So we could go, like I said, I think there's enough in this video, and I'm going to end it with just a recap of the important elements of what an important candle is. An important candle typically is like this candle here. An important candle is typically larger. The close is what matters. Typically larger than candles that precede it, typically. This one here is an important candle. It's of this size here, and it's about these sizes here. So of the size or larger is probably a good way to define it. It goes through an important key level or bias indicator. So if you're in the RexDog Trading System, you know the bias indicators. And it closes, usually at a key level, but it closes and it invalidates other things on the chart. It doesn't have to have all these elements, but the more of these elements it has, the better. And I use this specific candle here because what do we see here? Just to wrap this up. This candle started at a very interesting area anyways. This candle broke through a weekly open. It closed above this high of this candle. So it closed above this high. It is of relative same size as some of these larger ones. It's definitely not, it's close to this one, which was an important candle. But typically in a pay attention candle will invalidate another pay attention candle. Typically. Sometimes, I shouldn't say typically, a lot of times you will see, in this case, this was a pay attention candle, and this pay attention candle was invalidated by this candle by just a simple close above the high. It invalidated this. So those are the simple rules. Like I said, part of it is a little bit of art because it's like porn. You can't fully describe it, but you know it when you see it. So that's another way, I guess, to look at it. But what do you do now? Real simple. You can move on to the next video, or what I suggest you always do is when you learn a new concept like this, is that for you to further digest it and then make it your own and then have it be within your trading system that you're adopting from the RexDog Trading System, you go into charts yourself. Go into the markets you trade yourself. Start identifying pay attention candles, important candles. Start really understanding what's happening around them and after them. Carry that narrative forward. In addition, if you have any questions, ask in the den. I can clarify anything. But this is understanding pay attention candles is critical to the levels discussion that we'll have. And I'll just be another half a minute here. From there, from the levels, we have to cover one candle type, which is breakdown candles, and then levels. And then what we're going to do there after that is that every video thereafter is pretty much going to be tying everything together. And then you're going to get specific. You've already got some specific rules, but you're going to get specific rules because then you know the whole full picture. So after these next two sections, you'll have the whole full picture. And then the rules that you already have, you'll be having more concrete rules around the whole full picture. So the way to look at this is what's happening going forward is that you've got specific rules for specific elements of the RexDog trading system right now. And then you're going to get rules where it ties it all together. So those specific rules, like maybe how you trade around the VWAP, for instance, there's specific rules around that. But then when you add the other elements of what you're learning about levels, important candles, and the rules, all these are rules they're simple. So you don't have to think about them. Of course, like anytime you learn anything new, you're going to have to adjust and understand the rules. Like if you learn a new game, like not chess, but some kind of new card game or something, you need to understand the rules. But once you understand the rules, then you start playing the strategy, right? Same way with this. Once you understand the rules, takes you maybe a week or two, then you start applying the strategy. Same way with this. So we're at a very exciting time, and it's about to all come together here in the next week. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.